What is your plan for personal growth? If you're like me, I didn't have one. I didn't even know I needed one. I loved God, I went to work, I went to church, but nothing was changing in my life until I learned these 5 habits that have absolutely changed my life, and I'm convinced they'll change yours too. Hey, I'm Terri Savelle, and you're watching Live Your Dreams. I pray that as you invest in yourself today, you're captivated and you're catapulted to live your dreams. We're talking about developing habits and discipline and a routine that's going to lead you closer to success and to the dreams that God's put in your heart. Years ago, and you may have heard me tell this, I say this all the time, but it was a statement that I heard from John Maxwell years and years ago that absolutely changed my life. He said this. He said, if I could come to your house and watch you for 24 hours, I could tell whether or not you're going to be a success or a failure. I thought, oh my goodness. He said, you pick the day, but let me watch you from the moment you wake up till you go to bed that night. He said, just by observing you in one 24-hour period, I could tell if you're going to be a success or a failure. Then he said this, the reason I say that is because the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. Well, that statement changed my life, and as a result, I began changing something about my daily routine. I didn't have a big, a success coach come to my house and lay out this big growth track. No, I just made a decision to adopt a few things in my life, a few disciplines and a few habits that I was determined to stick with. And when I changed my routine, it changed my whole life. I'm so convinced of it, I even have a magazine called The Routine. The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. Well, I want to teach you how to develop a routine in your life that's going to lead you closer to success and to the dreams that God's put in your heart. In fact, years ago, this was in 2003, my dad, Jerry Savelle, was promoting me to be the CEO for Jerry Savelle Ministries International. Now, the best way to describe this is the day my dad announced it, he brought me in, he had the whole staff there, he's announcing that I'm the new CEO, and the best way to describe it was kind of like fear went all over the place, and the whole staff just kind of looked at me like, Legally Blonde's going to lead the team. They were scared, and rightfully so, because I'm not a natural leader. I'm not a natural decision maker. In fact, I usually ask other people what I should eat. Like, should I eat pizza today or should I have a taco? My friends are like, I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you think I should eat? I was like, I don't know. Make a decision. So I'm not a natural decision maker. I'm not naturally proactive. In fact, I'm more reactive just by nature. In fact, I remember in college, I was living in the dorm, and I came back to my dorm room, and when I opened the door, my dorm had flooded. There was water everywhere. It was really bad. But my roommate was gone, my suite mate was gone, and I was just looking at all this water. I didn't know what to do, so I took a nap, and I just waited for my roommate to come back and tell me what to do. So now you know why the staff was so alarmed when I was announced as the new CEO. Well, I remember telling the staff that day, I knew that once I was handed this huge responsibility, that I was going to have a plan for growth. In fact, I told them, I said, I feel like Jehoshaphat in 2 Chronicles when the armies were coming against him, and Jehoshaphat said, Lord, I don't know what to do. Even if I did, I don't have the strength to do it. He said, but my eyes are on you. And so number 1, he set himself to seek God. So I told the team that day, I said, number 1, I promise I'm going to seek God. I'm going to spend time in prayer. And number 2, I'm going to educate myself as a leader. Because, you can't pray to become a leader no more than I could pray to speak French. You have to educate yourself. You have to learn. You have to study. So I began to educate myself as a leader. And here's the thing about growth. Growth is not automatic. When you're a kid, you just grow. You don't even have to try. You just grow automatically. But when you become an adult, It has to be strategic. It has to be planned. It has to be intentional. So if we want to go to the next level, if we want to pursue the dreams or those faith projects that God's put in your heart, you have to grow to the next level. And it has to be strategic. It has to be planned. Well, John Maxwell became like a mentor to me. I began to absorb everything I could from him. And he said back in the 70s, this man named Kurt Kampmeyer asked him, he said, John, what is your plan for personal growth? John said, I started listing all my accomplishments. I talked about how hard I work. He said, I started listing all the goals that I've achieved and what I was going to do to reach more people. And the guy said, no, what is your plan for personal growth? He said, finally it dawned on me, I didn't have a plan. I didn't even realize I needed a plan to grow personally. So he said, he began to realize if you have dreams and goals in your heart, you have to have a plan to grow into them. Well, this guy was selling a growth kit, like a success coach would sell. And the kit was, I think it was $700 or $800, which was like a month's salary for him back then. He said, I couldn't afford it, but I also knew I cannot not afford it. He said, I did everything I could to finally afford that growth kit. Well, then he said, as I began to grow, I began asking other people, what is your plan for growth? What is your plan for personal growth? He said, I began to realize nobody in my world had a plan to grow. Well, as he began, listening to the audios, reading the books, growing himself, all of a sudden he said, a year later I noticed I began to surpass most of my heroes. Why? Because they stopped growing. They grew to a certain level and then they stopped. They just kind of plateaued. He said, my whole world began to open up. I accomplished more, I learned more, opportunities began to present themselves. He said, outside of my faith, my decision to grow personally has impacted my life more than anything else. A plan for personal growth. Isn't that amazing? Well, when I heard John Maxwell say that, and then when he said, if I could come to your house and watch you, I could tell whether or not you're going to be a success or failure, that's when I realized I've got to have a plan every day to grow myself. Because I don't want to keep repeating the same stuff year after year. I don't want to be at the level I'm at even today, next year at this time. But if I don't change, nothing's going to change. So I just made a list of 5 things that I was going to start practicing every single day. They weren't massive, big things. It was just 5 simple things. Number 1, I said I'm going to spend time in prayer. Just thinking, meditating, listening for God, reading the Word. Do something every day to spend time with God. Number 2 was to listen to a motivational faith-building message at some point every day. In fact, I remember saying my goal is to be stronger today than I was yesterday because faith comes by hearing, right? Number 3, I said I'm going to make myself read from a success book or from the Bible. I'm going to read something every day for 20 minutes. Number 4, I said I'm going to review my list of dreams and goals. Because I began to discover that the most successful people in the world do that. So I said, I'm not just going to write my goals and put them away. I'm going to look at them every single day. And then number 5 was exercise. I just said, I'm going to make myself do something every day for physical fitness. Well, this simple and sort of ridiculous looking growth plan was 15 years ago, and I haven't stopped. 15 years ago. But do you know this simple routine, those 5 things, have resulted in hosting this TV show today, speaking engagements all over the world, books published in bookstores nationwide, hosting my own success conference, walking into a bookstore in Paris, France, and seeing my books in French in the bookstore, and everything else I'm currently doing. And I give God all the glory. But do you know I am convinced that the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. If you will change your routine, you can change your whole life. In fact, I think Jim Rohn said it best. He said, success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Then he said, if you want more, you must become more. Well, if you want to do more for God, you must become more for God. So, the truth is, so often we want our circumstances to change. We want a better marriage, a better career, a better salary, a better body, better opportunities. But honestly, the way to have better is to become better. So personally, just in my life, as I focused more on improving myself, my life was improved. As I began to change just a few things in my daily routine, my entire life began to change. Everything began to grow. So, just to kind of break apart my 5 simple things, the first one, number 1, is I began to spend time, just in prayer, just setting a goal that every day I'm going to do something to spend time with God. Now, I didn't let myself get overwhelmed and say it has to be 1 hour on my knees in a prayer closet. No, I just said, it might be 5 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, but every day I'm going to do something to spend time with the Lord. Well, I started taking a journal and a pen into my little guest bedroom, just me and God, and I would just practice hearing the voice of God. That's what my dad told me to do. Practice hearing God's voice. Whatever comes up in your spirit, just write it down. Even if you're not sure if it's God or it's your own head, just write it down anyway. So I began practicing that. And just simple things like, I remember one time it was the first time I ever heard the Lord speak. I heard clean up and clean out. And my first thought was, is that the voice of God or the voice of my mom? Clean up? But I took it literally. I wrote those words down, clean up and clean out. Well, I went through every room in my house and I just began cleaning it up. I focused on one room at a time. I started with the one I spent the most time in. And I started with that one room and I just began cleaning everything out, just organizing. But that's not all I did. I took a CD player with me and some faith-building CDs, and I would listen to the Word of God while I was cleaning. Well, then I began to hear things like Matthew 25:21. It says, "You've been faithful with a few things, I'll put you in charge of many things." One translation says, "Because you were loyal with small things, I'll let you care for much greater things." Well, that was just, I believe God was preparing me for promotion, just getting things cleaned up. But do you know my habit of just spending time with God, practicing hearing His voice? That's where I began to get direction for my life. That's how I started the Icing Women's Conference, was listening for God. That's how I started my Success Conference. The next conference was listening for God. That's how we started the outreach in France that we have, just by listening to God. Just that simple habit of every day, I'm going to make myself listen to the voice of God. I'm going to make myself spend some time with the Lord. Well, here's the thing. It's not about a clock. It's about consistency. Change your routine. You can change your whole life. Now I want to share with you the 4 other habits that I began to apply in my life that can take you to a whole new level. I'll be right back.
God has a great plan and purpose for your life, and your ability to walk out that good plan will be determined by the habits you develop. That's why Terri is offering you her teachings, Mind Over Mattress and Discipline to Reach Your Goals. In Mind Over Mattress, Terri will show you how your morning routine can break you from an average life and catapult you into great success. And in the 4-part teaching, Discipline to Reach Your Goals, Terri takes you through her journey of going from just existing year after year to being an expert goal achiever. Together, this must-have bundle of resources will give you the tools you need to make the most of every day and see real progress. Don't go another day feeling stuck or held back. There's an extraordinary life waiting for you. Call or go online to request your copy of Mind Over Mattress, along with Discipline to Reach Your Goals. Call toll-free 888-844-7933 or visit us online at terri.com. Discover simple ways to live the life of your dreams.
Hey, so we're talking about you developing a plan for personal growth. How to develop certain habits and disciplines in your life that I believe can take you to a whole new level. So I'm sharing personally from my life 5 things that I began practicing years ago. Just 5 simple habits every single day that have led me to what I'm doing today. Things that I never thought possible, and God has opened doors for me, and I believe it's because of these disciplines and these habits in my life. So the first one was just spending time with God. At some time every single day, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is, but every day doing something to spend time with the Lord. Number 2 was I began to make myself read books. Every day, do something to read. In fact, as I began just that simple habit of making myself read, I set a goal for myself to do it for 20 minutes a day. because I wasn't disciplined with reading. I didn't like reading. The only books I ever read for pleasure, was like the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleader Manual. I did not like reading. But when I set a goal to make myself read for 20 minutes a day, I began to learn so much wisdom that helped me in my life. Just in the area of time management. I remember I was so stressed out at that time. I was working a full-time job. I was a youth pastor. I was just stressed out. Had a little girl at home. And I began to learn things just from this habit of reading. Things like, assign days for your task. Like, I would drive home from work and I would check the mailbox, see a pile of bills, and I would think, oh my gosh, I got to pay my bills. Then I'd go in the house and think, oh, I got to figure out what we're going to eat for dinner. Then I would go upstairs, see a pile of laundry, and think, oh great, now I got to start laundry. And I was just stressed out. When I began that habit of 20 minutes a day reading, I remember learning that you need to assign days for certain tasks. Like if it's bill paying, then you say, you know what? I pay my bills on Sunday night, so I'm not even going to think about the bills the rest of the week. When I go by the mailbox, I'm going to grab them, put them on the desk because I pay bills Sunday night. If it's laundry, I'm not even going to think about the laundry all week because I do laundry Saturday morning. So Thursday night, when you go in your kid's bathroom and you see a pile of towels, don't worry about it. You do laundry Saturday morning. Well, I began to learn these time management tips that have helped me with what I'm doing today. And that was just by that simple habit of reading for 20 minutes every day. Well, then I started a habit. The third one was listening to audio teaching, just making myself listen to audio messages every day. Now, as I began to do that, my whole thinking began to change. The Bible says that faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. Well, every time you push play, faith comes. And faith and confidence go hand in hand. In fact, I remember hearing Joyce Meyer say, a believer with no confidence is like a jumbo jet sitting on the runway with no gas. You're not going anywhere. Well, faith comes by hearing, right? So as I began to hear the word, my faith grew, my confidence began to grow. I remember hearing things like, if you want to know where your life is headed, listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. Well, I started making declarations. I started saying, I'm confident, courageous, and qualified by God, over and over and over. Well, what you repeatedly hear, you eventually believe. I started becoming more confident, more courageous to go after my dreams. Well, that was just that simple result of making myself push play every single day. You may have heard these statistics before. They say the average American spends 30 minutes in their car going to work every day. 30 minutes to work, 30 minutes back home. Now, if you do that for 5 years, that's 1,250 hours in your car. Or if you listen to a message, that's the equivalent of a college education, just behind the wheel. So if we were to just push play, we could get the equivalent of a college degree. So that was just a simple habit that I began that produced great results. The fourth habit was writing and reviewing my dreams every single day. Every day I make it a point, and years ago I didn't do this. I used to set goals, January 1st, and they were big, broad, vague goals, like lose weight, get closer to God, save money, get out of debt, clean the house, things like that. I didn't achieve those goals. I didn't even remember where they were or what I wrote. But when I began reviewing them every day, even in my prayer time, I would just look at my dreams, pray over them, declare them out loud, thank the Lord for them. They began happening. In fact, you may have heard that statement that New Year's goals, those are things that go in one year and out the other. Well, that's not going to be the case if you make it a point every single day to pray over your dreams. And this is something that the most successful people in the world do. They write their dreams. They keep them before their eyes. I'm talking about millionaires from years ago, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, Theodore Roosevelt. They all had that habit of writing their dreams and keeping them before their eyes. Well, the more I began to look at my dreams, the more compelled I began to go after them, the more I began to desire them in my life, and they began to happen. And the same will happen for you if you make it a part of your daily routine. The fifth habit, number 5, was as I began to exercise. I began to incorporate exercise in my daily routine. I began to feel better inside and out. I began to develop a lifestyle of discipline and even consistency that other people began to notice just by, sticking with it instead of just saying, I'm going to exercise because spring break's coming, or I'm going to exercise because summer's coming. No, just saying, you know what, this is what I do. Every single day, I do something to work out. Whether it's 10 minutes of jogging on a little trampoline, or it's 20 minutes of walking on a treadmill or walking in my neighborhood, I'm going to do something every single day to incorporate exercise. Well, as I began to do that, I began to realize things like you will win or lose based on what's going on in your mind, in the area of fitness, in the area of everything in life. And that's when I began to understand that if you think you'll never reach or maintain your fitness goals, you won't. Everything it's what's going on in your mind. If you think you'll always struggle with dieting, you will. If you think you'll inherit the slow metabolism of overweight family members, you will. If you think you'll suffer with diabetes for the rest of your life, you probably will. So I began to understand that if you think you're undisciplined and you declare those words, then you'll stay undisciplined. So I began to speak fit words out of my mouth. In fact, one of my favorite scriptures in the area of fitness was, I would always say, Isaiah 55:11, so shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it will accomplish that which I please. And it shall prosper in the thing whereto I send it. Well, I began speaking to my body. I began to speak to the results that I wanted to have. Saying things like, I have a fast metabolism. I weigh my perfect weight. I'm happy with my body. Things like that. And you know what? My body began to line up with my words. Well, as a result of these 5 commitments, I developed what I would call a dream routine that has led me to where I'm at today. And the interesting thing is, today, people will say to me, Terri, how do you know so many motivational phrases and quotes? And I say, well, you know what? Every day I listen to a motivational message while I'm getting ready. Or people will say to me, how do you have the confidence to speak to thousands of people? I knew you when you were really shy. And I'll say, well, you know what? Every day, one of my declarations is I'm confident to speak to thousands of people. And what you repeatedly hear, you eventually believe. Or people will say to me, how do you have the energy to fly overseas and speak at conferences and you never have jet lag? I say, well, every day I incorporate exercise in my routine and it makes me feel better. Well, people will even say to me this one a lot. How in the world do you have time to do all of those things? You're telling me you do those 5 things every single day. And my answer is yes, I do them every single day. But here's the thing. Have you heard of the 80-20 rule? Some people call it the Pareto principle. This is what it suggests. 20% of your activities will produce 80% of your results. 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. So, thinking about my personal rule of 5, the 5 things I do every day, do you know that only takes up about 15 to 20% of my entire day? In fact, by 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm finished. I've already done all those 5. But we make time for what's important to us. Remember that phrase I started with? Success is something you attract by the person you become. So, I want to ask you, what can you do every day as part of your daily routine that will prepare you for tomorrow? Now think about that in terms of your dream. Whatever God's put in your heart, it might be making 5 sales calls every single day, or practicing guitar every day for 20 minutes, but that's what you do. It could be taking vitamins. It could be writing a book. Maybe God's told you to write a book and you keep saying, I don't have time. Well, make a decision that this is the year that you go to the next level. That if it's 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes will add up. It could be researching a business idea, experimenting with a new recipe, practicing free throws in basketball. It could be jogging for 30 minutes, studying the stock market, cleaning or organizing one room in your house for 20 minutes a day. Maybe that's what the Lord's put on your heart. It's time to get organized. Then say, you know what? I can do this. I can commit to 20 minutes a day. So I want you to think about the areas of your life where you need to develop discipline. And I want you to get this series. This is our last week to offer this. This is Discipline to Reach Your Goals. This is going to help you establish a 21-day commitment that I believe will set you on a path to become a lifestyle of discipline. In fact, I put my notes in here. My study notes are in here for you to look at, for you to take note, and to get these habits ingrained in your head so that it just becomes a lifestyle to you. Where you don't even have to remind yourself, practice guitar. That's what you do every day. It's just part of your routine. And then I want you to get, in this special package, we have Mind Over Mattress. This is a single that I recorded teaching the 5 habits of the most successful people in the world. I discovered that they do something called Mind Over Mattress. In other words, they take control of the first part of their day by investing in themselves. That's one of the best things you can ever do, is make a commitment that before you invest in everybody else all day, you take a moment to invest in yourself first thing in the morning. Practice Mind Over Mattress. And so I share the habits of the most successful people in the world and discipline to reach your goals. And let me just remind you, a lot of times you can look at all this and think, dear Lord, you're telling me I got to do all this? Well, I love what Joyce Meyer said the Lord told her years ago. She said, she was looking at her schedule and all of her disciplines and her habits and routines, and then a lot of times you can look at other people and all they're not doing and think, well, they're not having to work as hard as me. Why am I having to pray and read and listen and work out? And the Lord said to her, Joyce, you've asked me for a lot. Do you want it or not? Well, that's helped me so many times in my own life. And I want you to know God's watching everything, and He rewards those who diligently seek Him. He's the one who said faith without works is dead. So every time you make yourself get up, you invest in yourself, you push play, you watch a faith-building broadcast, you're making progress. You're investing in yourself. And the secret of your future is in your daily routine. Get these resources. I know they're going to bless your life. Like I said, this is our last week to offer this special package. And I'm believing a year from now, you will not be where you are today. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so I can keep you motivated to achieve your dreams. And let me just remind you, stop looking at all the years you've lost. Don't look at all of your mistakes, all the missed opportunities. Look at the years you've got left and start living your dreams.
God has a great plan and purpose for your life, and your ability to walk out that good plan will be determined by the habits you develop. That's why Terri is offering you her teachings, Mind Over Mattress and Discipline to Reach Your Goals. In Mind Over Mattress, Terri will show you how your morning routine can break you from an average life and catapult you into great success. And in the 4-part teaching, Discipline to Reach Your Goals, Terri takes you through her journey of going from just existing year after year to being an expert goal achiever. Together, this must-have bundle of resources will give you the tools you need to make the most of every day and see real progress. Don't go another day feeling stuck or held back. There's an extraordinary life waiting for you. Call or go online to request your copy of Mind Over Mattress, along with Discipline to Reach Your Goals. Call toll-free 888-844-7933 or visit us online at terri.com. Discover simple ways to live the life of your dreams.